You know, they say the NHL is a cutthroat industry. You have GMs like Chris Drury of the New York Rangers, wants to get rid of a guy like Barclay Goodrow, signed him to a long deal, gave him a no-trade clause, can't get rid of him. So what does he do? You think that stops him? No, he picks up the phone, calls his buddy, Mike Greer over there in San Jose, goes, listen, there's this guy, I want to get rid of him. He won't waive his no-trade clause. I'm going to put him on waivers. You claim him, and then, I don't know, I'll pick up our dinner at Applebee's in a week or something. So Greer goes, no problem. Puts him on waivers, ends up in San Jose. Problem solved. Backdoor ways to screw a player. Then you have their captain, Jacob Trouba, who's become public enemy number one in New York because he's eating $8 million of salary. He's nowhere near the player he was at the beginning of his contract. Chris Drury asks him to waive his no-trade clause. He goes, no. He goes, all right, looks like I'm going public with the story about you and your wife's residency, trying to become some nurse as you're holding up the team. I'm going to have the media, fans, and everyone just boo you every time you touch the puck. So much to the point where you say, okay, fine, I'll take a trade to the Anaheim. It's a cutthroat nature, but still, it has nothing on the cutthroat nature of NHL sniffing, because after back-to-back lackluster nights, do you want to know what I can feel through the screen? Digital vitriol. You guys, if it was up to you, you'd march me up there onto the stage like William Wallace in Braveheart. You'd have me stretched in front of the whole crowd of all of you, and you'd be saying, more, more, and then they start rearranging my organs. Good. And then after they finally chop my head off, you go, no, mercy, where are we going to get our sniffs? You're going to get them here on a Friday, and maybe this Friday will treat us a little bit better than Wednesday and Thursday, because I did mention to you yesterday, my rules, they've been ironed out like, Jamie Kennedy's rules in Scream. They've been there for years, and they've been there for a reason. I said yesterday, I really start hammering unders after Game 4, once Game 5 starts in round 1, because you can always have the random first game at home eruptions. And that was a rule I've always lived by, but I got over-eager starting to see those unders. And you saw St. Louis, quick 3 goals first period against the Winnipeg Jets. You saw the Minnesota Wild, who none of you thought would be able to beat the Vegas Golden Knights. Go back and look at the comments from the preview video. And then they scored a quick 2 goals against the Vegas Golden Knights. Are they going to beat them? I still don't know. Vegas can absolutely still easily win that series, actually. They're playing mostly fine, but there are a certain couple of players who weren't there all year for the Minnesota Wild. And when they were there, that team was in first place. So we can't be shocked that a team that was in first place is leading a team who also could have been in first place. So that's just kind of how that one is working out. Today, we have a couple more Game 3s. A couple of more Game 3s on the docket, which means you have teams in their first home game. So we have to factor that in with our sniffs. So there's a somewhat wide variety of outcomes, and while the word under will be featured once again, I'm at least going to start you with a couple of overs. Some overs that actually didn't work out a few nights ago during Game 2, but all I know is that the Edmonton Oilers, down 2-0 in the series, had a wild comeback in Game 1. They're now going home to face the Kings. They're down 0-2, and this theoretically should be their quote-unquote best punch. I don't know if they're going to win this game. I have zero clue. But I am fairly confident that the big trio of players, those same trio that we bet on a couple nights ago, didn't come through because the Edmonton Oilers got waxed. Connor McDavid was held fully off the score sheet. I want to see them hold Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard off the score sheet when the Oilers are at home, and when they have the benefit of last change and they can get the slightly better matchups that they weren't able to get on the road. So I'm going with that big trio of power play players to come through like they did in Game 1. They just didn't do it in Game 2, but now Game 3, series on the line. You got to think that power play is going to find its form. It's done that in previous series, started quiet in previous series, and then once they woke up, it was a full eruption. So I'm looking at Draisaitl, McDavid, Evan Bouchard to find the score sheet in different ways. So I'm just going to do that same mix and match. I'm going to go with Evan Bouchard for a point, Connor McDavid for an assist, and then Leon Draisaitl for a point, Evan Bouchard for an assist. Just that power play, the top of the umbrella. I mean, at home, they've been such a reliable playoff team. This is clearly a worse version of the Oilers, but I have faith in those guys finding the score sheet. So those are for you over chasers. But let's go to New Jersey, where we have the New Jersey Devils down 0-2 against the Carolina Hurricanes. Remember when just people were acting as if Carolina had no chance? Like, oh, no, they're not good. They're going to breeze through this series. They're going to breeze through the Metro. They are one of the better teams in the East. I said, like the Panthers, they play playoff-style hockey all year long. They just don't have the top-end talent of the Panthers, which is why you know what you're getting every single year from the Carolina Hurricanes. You're getting one series win minimum. They're going to beat inferior teams. They're going to play incredible at home. And they're going to have lackluster performances on the road. I mean, this Carolina team falls right in line with the previous Carolina teams. The only difference, I guess, would be the Devils, they haven't really played all that bad. It was a 1-goal deficit last game, and then there was an empty netter. But the first game home in New Jersey, this is probably the best effort you're going to see from New Jersey. And I'm going to be chasing unders on the Carolina side. They've been poor road playoff performers every single year under Rod Brind'Amour. I know they're playing a bad team, but I need to see it before I can believe it. This one is a seeing is believing opposed to a sniffing is believing. So I'm actually chasing some Carolina unders. I do think that they are going to stay under their 3.5 goal total that I'm seeing out there for them. And I know that's a crusty price, like minus 170 for under 3.5 goals. So what am I going to do? I'm going to see if they have anybody listed on line 4. And yes, I'm going to take the under 0.5 point on Jack Roslovic to make that under 3.5 a little more appetizing. You can handle it with that. It's like, after a shot, you have the chaser, a little Jack Roslovic chaser in there with the under 3.5 goals. Or even, honestly, we'll come back to this under 3. I'm going to do the under 6.5 with Jack Roslovic, just because we're going to do that under 3.5. And we're going to do it with the line 2 and line 3 double unders, just like we did with the Canadiens the other night. Give me the under 3.5 goals for the Carolina Hurricanes with the under 0.5 point for Taylor Hall and Jesperi Kotkaniemi, line 2, power play 2 combo. And then also the under 3.5 goals for the Carolina Hurricanes with the Logan Stankoven and Jordan Martinook double unders. So the line 3 double unders with the under 3.5 goals, because it's correlated. That's if they stay under 3.5 goals, it's more than likely that the line 3 combo didn't get. You can get ridiculously unlucky, like with the Marco Rossi. That's just bad luck, I can assure you. But when you get those fourth line plays, like Jack Roslovic, you're going to take it to juice that under 6.5. When you get those line 3 play with Jordan Martinook, who's not on either power play, and you combine that with Stankoven, these are plays that I'm always going to take. And I can assure you by the end of the playoffs, the more clenched those cheeks progressively get, the more these are going to hit in frequency. But I do have something extremely exciting if you want an over in here. And this is going to require you to watch the game. So that's good. You basketball watchers who come here, try to rob picks, and then watch basketball for the night. This one is not for you. This is for the watchers. Jordan Martinook, as you saw last game, he's one of the guys who eats up minutes during empty net situations. So if their team is defending a lead and they have a 1-goal lead or 2-goal lead, he's out there a ton of time with that empty net open. So while Jordan Martinook's point is plus 200, if you see Carolina's leading after 2 by 1 or 2 goals, Draftkings has a feature now you can bet on live player point props. If I see that they're up after 2 periods, I'm taking the Jordan Martinook live point prop, which Draftkings now offers during the game. And the later the game gets, the better the price gets, especially for a player who's starting at plus 200 for a point. So I'm not going to take him from the outset, but if I see Carolina somehow leading, it's 2-1 after 2 periods, I'm taking the live Jordan Martinook point prop, which has got to be minimum, plus 400 by the end of the second period. So that's something to look for while that game is going on. But for the most part, I'm chasing Carolina unders. Brind'Amour's teams don't play well on the road, and I'm just going to bank on that continuing to happen for, the 5th, 6th, 7th straight season. And then lastly, something that you all crave. You all crave pizza, you all crave money lines, and now you're going to get it. We're going to walk right into that pizzeria and tell them, I got something even you can understand. And that is the Montreal Canadiens money line at home. Look, they've lost games 1 and 2. I picked the better defensive team to win this series. They're going to do just that. They're going to play better defense, hold leads, definitely win home games, and ultimately win the series. But do you think that the Washington Capitals have been even remotely convincing in this series? They've had leads and then clinged on to them for dear life with the empty net open. Montreal controlled play in both third periods of these games. Now they're going back to Montreal, which is going to be a madhouse. You don't have to be the better team to win a home game during the playoffs. Even the New York Islanders managed a good amount of home playoff wins over these last couple of years. But Montreal, in that raucous environment, the same way, when they scammed their way to the Stanley Cup final, they even got a win over the literal dynasty Tampa Bay Lightning at home, where Nikita Kucherov said last round was your Stanley Cup. But they even were able to win a game against the Lightning. Then they should be able to win a game against an extremely beatable Caps team. They really are. And I'm going to take Montreal to win this one at home against the Washington Capitals, who to me have not been even remotely convincing. This series, I was saying the other night, it looks like the last team to make the playoffs last year versus the last team to make the playoffs this year. But it just looks like you have both of those teams playing on the same. It looks like you transported last year's 8 seed and this year's 8 seed to play each other. It's just not been very... It has not been high-level play, let's just say that, in the entire Metro side of the bracket. So I got the Montreal Canadiens to take that one, and that's what I got for you here on a Friday. Let's hope this week ends with a couple of solid sniffs. We will see. Good luck to you. Better luck to me. There's some more freestyling there. If you want the sniffs over the weekend or any sort of last-second info, you want MLB sniffs that Josh puts out bright and early on the Patreon, that's exactly where you can get it, patreon.com/Andy Francess. I hope to see you there. If not, I'll see you on Monday for another round of NHL sniffs, and we will be in the later part of the series where we can reliably smack them unders.
Hey. This is John Butchergross from ESPN reminding you to like, comment, subscribe, because Andy clearly isn't going to do it.